Here's my DSI NC2400 that was not functional. It was the keypad was not responsive except for backspace and feed. There was some other things that the indicators worked but didn't do anything. Upon closer inspection, I had found that the resistor here, R50, down here, it had completely burned through, as well as this 1 ohm resistor that's tied off to one of the connectors was cracked in half, and it left the board with, it was severely burned, and I had to check all of the traces to make sure that they were still good. And the TIP 145s that were found in Q5 and Q6, and you can't see them in here, I was able to remove them and check them, and the characteristics were exactly the same. So I surmised that those were not affected by this heating. And what I did was I took, instead of the, and I first want to thank, I had reached out onto the internet to one of the probably only companies left, WNC Supply, and spoke with them on the phone because the resistor that I had removed right here had no indication on it whatsoever. And I reached out to those folks in Arizona, and they immediately got back to me and let me know, as I'd written down here, that it was actually originally a 25 ohm 6 watt wire wrap resistor. And what I did was, because I could not find one and I decided to go with 10 watt, I was able to get a 10 by 10 in parallel in series for 20. So I got, what you're looking at is two 10 watt 10 ohm resistors, and I've put them in there in its place and tied them off together. After checking all the traces, I'm now able to fire up the unit, and we can see that the logic is working, and here's the backspace and feed, and what it has is a fan that blows on a voltage regulator when that happens to cool it at the same time. So if I press the button, that's backspace, and it only does for a certain interval. If I hold it, it will stop as well. And feed just keeps going and going if you hold it. So I have my RS-232, my high and low were all set by the dip switches that could be found in the cover here. I went with 2400 baud and 300 baud, and I did that because I could get the max baud rate while at the same time retain compatibility with some of my older 300 baud devices that don't use any compression. And all of the functions are working. This is full and half duplex, liner local for use as a terminal, and code convert is not the indication here, but remote control to turn it on and off from other devices. I have one of my test strips in here, and I didn't want to run it dry, so I put it in there, and if I hit read, you can see that it reads straight through. It did it very quickly. I'm running at higher speed. And I'm gonna reload that tape now. And just lock that back down, and I'm gonna turn it back to 300 baud right here. And now we're gonna hit read again. And there we have it. So everything appears to be working. I'm gonna do a couple more diagnostic tests on the serial interface, and we'll see how it goes. But I can tell you that those resistors back there, and these are 10 watts by 2, and they get a bit toasty. But what I have is I have them far off the board so as to not damage any components on the board and dissipate the heat under the control panel.